Adam, I was talking about this the other day, a bit last week, that it seems like the leaders of both parties are kind of similar in this regard, where they look at their various demographics, their various voting blocks, whatever they may be, and they know they have to say certain things, but they don't actually mean any of it, and they don't give a crap. When it comes to Democrats, it's black people, right? Or gay people, whatever it may be. You go up, you toss out a couple lines. Hey, you're basically still a slave, vote Democrat. The Republicans do the same thing. I'll close the border, vote for me. Hey, I'm totally pro-life. And they get the evangelicals cheering, but they don't actually intend to do anything about it. I don't think anyone is really represented in this country anymore.
No, not really. And what you're talking about is basically purity tests. Especially on the political right. It's much like, what's your favorite Bible verse? Does it matter? I mean, I say this as a Christian. It really doesn't matter what verse they tell you. What matters is what they're going to do in office. And the thing is, we kind of lose sight because we're always trying to measure up to some sort of purity test. And sometimes those purity tests get rid of the good people that actually should be in positions of power. But instead, we get people who are willing to say whatever it takes to get power. And so they are fine with the purity tests. They know how to say the right thing, and people just move along. But we know behind the scenes what a lot of these politicians are really like and what they really believe. And it's not much of what they're actually saying. It's kind of like when you see those, the old days of those pastors who are so vehemently anti-gay, then they find out they were in the bathroom doing stuff with other gay men. So it's much of the same type of thing. It's hypocritical nonsense.
Adam, you used to be a Democrat. You don't vote that way anymore. What happened to you?
The Democrats left me more than I left them. But I did make a conscious choice to disengage from the Democrat Party to become an independent. So I am open to any person who is rational. I am open to people who are liberal-minded in the classical sense. And what I'm finding is that the liberals tend to be more on the center-right than on the center-left, unfortunately. And I think much of the center-left has been abandoned by the Democratic Party to cater to progressives and communists, to be honest with you. They're wholly illiberal, and they even get old kooks like Joe Biden to say stuff like gender-affirming care as if he knows what he's talking about. So this has been a big issue. But if I wasn't sure about leaving the Democrat Party before the lockdowns, I am vehemently not voting for the Democrat Party anytime soon because I don't see any major change coming for the party in quite some time. I'm definitely not voting for anyone who was involved in locking us down with non-scientific nonsense and closing Black businesses, closing middle-class businesses, small businesses, and leaving the billion-dollar corporations unharmed. Amazon, Target, and everybody else can still operate, but you can't go into your local clothing store. You can't go into your local market, but hundreds of people can go into Walmart and shop for food. How does this make sense? It doesn't. It's because they're catering to the top 1%. And I just see one particular party that has abandoned the middle class, abandoned the working class.
A third of small business is gone in this country. It's unbelievable. All right, let's talk about leaving the Democrat Party specifically, since that's kind of the central theme on the show. Adam, I see a realignment happening right now with, honestly, both parties. Both parties are figuring out exactly who they are, who they want to be, and people are moving around based on what those decisions are. Every single election cycle, I watch the GOP convince themselves that this is the year that Black Americans are going to abandon the Democrat Party, and every year, and it never happens. It never actually happens at all. You'll have a little shift here or there. Is it happening now, or are the conditions, especially with all the illegals they're putting in Black neighborhoods, is it causing Black people en masse to walk away, in your opinion? I realize you're not the spokesman for all Black people, but do you get that sense?
So I think the biggest mistake that Republicans can make is thinking that more Black people stepping away from the Democratic Party means that more Black Americans are going towards the Republican Party. And there is a third option, and it's not libertarians. Sorry, libertarians. It's stay home. Voter apathy is a real issue. It's a real thing. And so people will just become disinterested. The people who might take them a lot of effort to get up and go out and vote, will just say, you know what, screw this, I'm staying home because the Democratic Party doesn't represent me anymore. And I don't know anything about the Republicans, or the Republicans don't come to my neighborhood and speak to me. And I know that polling is coming out showing more Black Americans are in support of Trump. But the Republican mistake, once again, is thinking that Trump equals the Republican Party support. And it means support for Trump. So those are two different things. So once Trump is out of the picture, the Republican Party has to look at itself and figure out what it wants to be. And I think something that I don't know if a lot of people are thinking about, in basically 4 years, Trump is basically out of the picture. Even, if he wins, he's lame duck president, he'll be out of the picture. So then it'll be up to the Republican Party to figure out what it wants to be. And I think that there's jockeying for a power grab. And I think a lot of it is back to the old closed tent, small tent mindset of the Republican Party that's not interested in going into the cities. It's not interested in trying to get some sort of minority vote. It just wants lower taxes. It wants more country club benefits, and it wants more evangelicals. It wants the evangelicals to have way more of a say than they do now. And right now, the Republican Party is still the party of Trump.
What is it about him that is working for at least some people in the Black community in the country? He's getting a higher percentage, certainly, than Bush got, than Reagan got. What is it about Trump?
So I think it's two things. I think, one, Trump was president, and people will remember what the economy was like prior to COVID. So that's one. And two, Trump is familiar. Trump has been around for God knows how long. And so he's a familiar name and a familiar voice, and people are sort of used to him. So I think there becomes more of an openness to voting for Trump, even if you don't like everything about Trump. There becomes more of an openness because you're familiar with him. And to be honest with you, he's different than most Republicans. So I think there is an understanding from that aspect of just kind of being open-minded, because what was working before isn't working anymore. So I think more and more Americans, and not just Black Americans, but Americans in general, are taking another look at Donald Trump, especially with the disastrous results of Joe Biden's policies.
Joining me now, my friend Adam Coleman, founder of Wrong Speak Publishing. He wrote a book, great book, Black Victim to Black Victor. Adam, now, I'm not Black, so maybe you're the one I should probably ask the question to. Whenever I see Joe Biden talk about anything, including Black issues, it doesn't offend me. I just think, what a friggin' moron.
I think the same thing. I think that he is a principal actor in the Democrat Party that is equally condescending. Today I've gone as far as just plain out saying that he's racist. And he's the worst type of racist, because he says these things like he pretends to be our friend, and really he's doing everything possible to hold us back, to remind us of past traumas or supposed traumas that we're enduring because of our existence. So I think he's a terrible friend because he's not meant to be our friend. He has no interest in being our friend, just like he has no interest in being the friend of the middle class in America. Joe Biden's out to serve himself and the people that he reports to.